Welcome to the bold analysis. And I want to boldly ask a question to some few cabinet secretaries. Moses Kuria, Alice Wahome. Moses Kuria is in charge of industrialization and trade. Alice Wahome, the water CS, and the National Treasury, and the chairperson of the Budget Committee in the National Assembly, Ndindi Nyoro, and Kimani Chungwa, who is the leader of government business in the National Assembly. Why has it become difficult to bargain better for the region despite of your proximity to power and also the fact that you are holding planned budget related dockets that really should help you be in a position to bargain better? And I'm not saying that because Mount Kenya needs preferential treatment, but just under the statement of we are shareholders, or those who are shareholding. You know, I recently did an analysis here, and I think I'm the only person who covered the fallout, the cabinet fallout between Alice Wahome and William Ruto, about 1.3 billion dam projects that were initially budgeted for Mount Kenya, but they were rerouted to Kambani for some political correctness without the nod of water CS Alice Wahome. And she took offense with that. And of course, as a CS, she was supposed to be in the offing. And they were actually giving ultimatum for that budget to be rerouted to the Mount Kenya water projects. Now, the dam controversy is far from over. Today, or rather on Thursday, on Wednesday, Mbeere North Member of Parliament Geoffrey Kiringa gave ultimatum to President Ruto that they must include the Israeli-funded dam that was supposed to be built in Mbeere to help the locals there in the current budget. And according to him, it is not a favor, it is not a choice, but it is a must.
Juzi tulikuwa na Waisraeli na tukaenda mpaka Kamumu Dam, tukakuwa na mkutano na PS wa maji, na pia tumeongea na tumeandikia rais wa Jamhuri yetu ya Kenya ya kwamba sisi kama wakaaji wa Mbeere North tunataka dam ambayo imekuwa tunaongea kuhusu miaka mingi. Dam inaitwa Kamumu. Tunajua serikali ya Israeli kupitia balozi wa Israeli hapa Kenya wako na nia na wako na uwezo wa kusaidia serikali ya Kenya kutengeneza hiyo dam ili watu wa Mbeere wafaidiki. Mtu yoyote yule ambaye ataleta siasa katikati ya hii damu ambayo tumeahidiwa na serikali miaka mingi, yule ambaye ataleta siasa yoyote, jamani tutakabiliana na yeye vilivyo, na tunasema hivyo mchana. Not joke with the livelihood of the people of Mbeere. We cannot at any single moment joke with the livelihood of the people of Mbeere. We have suffered for many years living in these very harsh conditions of semi-arid area. And in most cases we are grouped with the upper Embu as if we enjoy the same agroecological zone, which we don't enjoy. Atucheki na mtu yoyote. Sisi maji yetu kupitia damu ya Kamumu, sisi ni wa Kenya, na lazima waziri wa maji, PS wa maji, na serikali ya William Samoei Ruto iweke hiyo damu pale kwa orodha, tujengewe damu ili watu wakuwe sawa sawa. Hata sisi tunalipa kodi. Hata sisi ni wa Kenya. Na hakuna mambo ya kuambiwa sijui hii ianzie alafu tuleto hiyo nyingine. Hakuna. Sianzie zote. Ama yetu ianzie kwanza. Yes.
There is one observation I want to make there. There is a trend of now leaders now asking the question. This is touching on Wahome. She has become one of the non-influential members of that cabinet because the question of that dam falls under his docket. And what exactly is going on? Where is it getting to public, despite the fact that this is something they're supposed to be, this is something that needs to be in the boardroom? And it is not a coincidence that there is something I want you to pay attention to. Today, the other clip we've listened to, that MP was speaking in some bursary donation. Today, there was also another bursary donation. And I think from gubernatorial bursary, I think governor also has such. And Anwe Guru, in a rare change of tone, joined the 1 man, 1 shilling campaign, saying the time for that discussion has come.
Hii pesa ambayo tunapeana kwa basari kwa kusema kweli haitoshi. Ukiangalia tunapeana 2,000, 3,000. Na ukienda eneo zingine za nchi wanaweza kupatia watoto wao hata 15,000, 20,000. Kwa hivyo mimi naungana na wale viongozi ambao wanasema tuongezewe pesa hasa ya basari, hata kama itakuwa ni conditional grant, ipewe kulingana na wengi wa watu, kwa sababu pesa ambazo tuko nazo tukigawa hazitoshi wananchi wa kaunti zetu, kwa sababu sisi tuko na watu wengi sana. Kuna kaunti zingine ambazo zinaweza kupeana pesa hata full scholarship kwa sababu wako na pesa za kutosha na watu wao sio wengi. Lakini ukija upande wa Kirinyaga ama Central Kenya unapata ya kwamba pesa ambazo tunapata hazilinganishwi sana na pesa zile ambazo na watu ambao wako. Kwa hivyo tunaomba sana serikali ishughulikie jambo hili la 1 man 1 shilling, especially kwa bursary. Kama wanaweza kutenga conditional grant, iwe hata kama ni county government inapewa kulingana na watu, ndio tujue watoto wetu at least watapata 5,000, 10,000 hivi ndio waweze kumaliza masomo.
The two ministries indicted in those two questions, the dam falls under Alice Wahome, and the 1 man 1 shilling 1 vote is one that also falls under I think the issue of the devolution. That one falls under the Rigathi Gachagua and the Treasury. All those are positions that are held by the Mount Kenya. And however, the question of revolt is not just on leaders. And I can tell you the leaders are just joining the residents. In fact, the residents are revolting and the leaders are behind them. I want you to look at this video here. This video is one time Cecil Mberire, the UDA chairperson, when she was given that position, it was really some bragging right. Her motorcade was blocked on the road by some residents who blocked the motorcade and were asking for water. I've never gone to Mberire North. In fact, it's Embu. I've never gone to Embu. I've gone to Meru, not Meru. Yes, I've gone to Meru, Nyeri, Murang'a, and Kiambu. So Kirinyaga and Embu, I've never gone to Embu. Hata kama maybe nimepita, but I've gone to Kudu, so ni kama nimepita. So there is something that is going on. These guys blocked the motorcade and they were asking for story ya maji. So that means that Embu has been a very hot seat. Now, leave alone that, remember the Mau Road? There was also some protest. There was a protest that was held in I think there was in one of the counties there. I can't really exactly find out where the residents also came out and they were saying that road needs to be complete because the economy kinda is a bit stalled. And I want to play for you that clip. But before I play for you that clip, I can tell you that there are two things. If the leaders are coming out to complain in public, and you're also seeing the residents revolting, then who is going to help? Because the leaders should be the decision-making table, and actually they are on the decision-making table, but they failed to negotiate. I want to listen to the soundbite of this woman here talking about that Mau Road.
Barabara iko na shida sana juu ile wakati kuna nyesha tuna shida sana. Kuna watu wengi wako hapa kwa mlima na tunaweza pata madhara hapo kwa barabara. Lakini tunaomba serikali itusaidie, serikali tusaidie ili tuweze kukigwa. Juu hii barabara isipotengenezwa tutapata madhara hapo. Juu gari zinaweza ingia kwa manyumba na hatuwezi lala. Watu wengi hawararagi ile wakati kuna nyesha, ile wakati kuna mashida ya hii barabara, kuna mitaro.
Now, what is behind this sporadic rupture or this sporadic complaint where the leader is complaining and the residents are complaining? I need to say here, my personal position here is that I think what's happening in Mount Kenya is so good. It's a very positive phenomenon, because this is, at the moment this is the budget making, we're in the budget making process now. Anything that is supposed to be done will be in the annual development plan. So I think for the other regions, this is the time to interrogate the budget. Instead of us just getting glued by asking the questions about taxes, how some taxes are punitive, we also need to get the details of what is to be developed within which time frame, the next financial year. And the fact that they're asking questions now is something very good. And of course, it's a signal that they know what's happening. For example, I know many people did not know, even in Western Coast, Nyanza, and even Nairobi, the regions that were promised a lot of things during these travels, these interdenominational services, even during Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto's tour in Nyanza, there's a bag of promises. We should then take time and interrogate, have they been budgeted for? You will hear, after this budget, you will hear a lot of complaints on what is going on. Why has it become difficult for the Mount Kenya to resolve these problems in the boardroom, or rather, let me say, difficult to negotiate? Instead, and then they're resorting to public threats to President Ruto. I don't think they deserve anything favor, but then you cannot underestimate the fact that they are in power. That's what I want to reveal to you. The big blunder that happened, and that is why we are where we are. When you allowed appointment, when William Ruto decided to pick two sets of people to cabinet. Number one are politicians who are his own friends. Of course, they are being rewarded. And by that time, there was a bit of entitlement because we campaigned and we made this government. Remember that narrative? We brought this government. So, tuligawa. Appointment of politicians to the cabinet, the Moses Kuria, the Alice Wahome, the Mithika Linturi, these were politicians. So, when they appointed to the cabinet, it was a high blunder. It was a big blunder because these are politicians who will thrive on Ruto's shadow. And for them, no one wants to fall out with William Ruto. So immediately when you are given, and also some of them are getting CS positions for the first time. I don't know that Mithika Linturi has ever been a CS, or Moses Kuria, or Alice Wahome. And they're a bit green on even how some of these things are being run. And William Ruto knew very well. So what he did is, when you brought in these politicians, first, politicians are just loyal to President Ruto, and for them they're looking at the 10-year plan, that we have a plan to be in power for the next 10 years, so we don't want to, and they cannot ask those questions. The other set of leaders that were brought are people who had some burdens, the people that William Ruto has just helped, those who had already ejected William Ruto with Uhuru Kenyatta, and so when they're coming to power, they're coming it as a sort of a reprieve. These are not people that are so much interested in, the elites that are interested in the regional aspect. In fact, that was the understanding, that when I have the politicians that were already attending the economic forums, then they would likely remind the president about what he promised the people. But that has changed not to be, because the politicians are their positions, they get their positions by the virtue of them being politicians, not being technocrats or people who have that bit of that expertise. So they lack the voice of challenging when things are going on wrong. And It thrived on something that President Ruto did. In every ministry, I am convinced that cabinet secretary could have been influenced by other decisions. But every principal secretary in every ministry, especially in some of these plum positions, are actually remote controlled by William Ruto. Because I just want to take a good example. In the water and sanitation ministry, the PS is a very strong ally, close ally of William Ruto. And imagine a budget of, and this budget, remember this budget had been approved by Uhuru Kenyatta by then. By then, you know, that's not even Ruto's cabinet, it was Uhuru Kenyatta. And it was rerouted from the dams to be constructed in Mount Kenya and taken to Kambani so that they can do some political smoothing. You know that? That is what happened. After getting politicians, Ruto said, okay, fine, you want the positions? Fine. I'm going to deploy there my PS. So the PS are people that are, and so they cannot control because those are the engine behind the ministries. The other second thing is that happened is there is a false comfort that after ejecting Uhuru Kenyatta from the political matrix in Mount Kenya, or after successfully making sure that they suppress, I think that's the word, they suppress Uhuru's message, the leaders and from the mountain believe there is no alternative voice. And so they seem to be feeling like they're enjoying some political monopoly. So it doesn't matter the level of rebellion that can be, but there is no force that can reckon with them. And that is why the likes of the former Murang'a governor, Mwengi wa Iria, stands a very good chance. The Mwengi wa Iria, the Maina Njengas, and the Jeremiah Kioni team, they stand a very good chance to go against the grain. And you may be shocked that in the next general election, if they decide to support another candidate apart from what maybe the UDA team, the team that believes they enjoy monopoly support there, they can really shock many. Even though we know our elections sometimes we have our own issues when it comes to elections. So there is that false comfort. Nothing. We've abused Raila, we've ejected Raila, we've suppressed Uhuru Kenyatta. So it's us. And that is what is happening. I believe now they're just staying now to manage the situation. Lastly, there was a blunder. When the state allowed and successfully used the Mount Kenya politicians to run with the narrative the government is broke. Two, the government is broke. Number one, Uhuru affected the economy. And Uhuru affected the economy, or Uhuru messed up the country, is a word that was targeting the community, the masses in the Mount Kenya. The same masses have been told government is broke. Number two, they've been told Uhuru destroyed the economy. Now, what is it? For them, that is the loophole. Because they will be told when they ask about this and that has not been done, they'll be told, you know what, there is no money because your son messed the economy. So themselves, they were sent to smoothen the ground. They were being fattened for slaughter. I like using that word. They were sent to smoothen the ground. If you do a random sampling, and how many leaders, even the very day on swearing in, it was Rigathi Gachagua who was first to say that we are taking over dilapidated economy. That song of dilapidated economy the chorus has been sung mostly by leaders from that region. If you look at Western, Nyanza and the regions, they're also talking about it but a little bit reserved. But the fact that they were used to sell the narrative government is broke, that according to intelligence has gotten to people's head, and they believe that if there is a place that can easily be controlled, it's just by telling them, look here, we have not done this because we're still fixing your son's problem. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my take. I want to get your honest opinion. Why Mount Kenya has become so blunt? It is not sharp to negotiate anymore. I want to get that. I'll get through the comment section and sample some few comments. It can really help us get more informed. Asanteni sana.